Taraweeh Truffles. In society, people naturally judge each other, right? But what's the criteria for judging someone else? Unfortunately, for a lot of people, they judge someone else based upon how much money that person has. They have a lot of money, hey, let's honor them. They don't, hey, let's not honor them as much. Or they might judge people based on their degrees, their educational degrees. Oh, he's a PhD, he's doctor. And if he's not a PhD or something, then he must be like the scum of the earth or something like that. And then there are other people that judge based on clothing or based on looks. You look really good or you dress really nicely. Hey, you have a high level in society, or you dress really scummy and whatnot and you're at the bottom. The question is, what is the real criteria for judging people? And are we even allowed to judge people? Let's check out this verse.
ولا تطرد الذين يدعون ربهم بالغداة والعشي يريدون وجهه ما عليك من حسابهم من شيء وما من حسابك عليهم من شيء فتطردهم فتكون من الظالمين.
In this verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forbids the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam from kicking out those who call upon Allah in the mornings and the evenings, seeking the countenance of Allah. The situation behind this verse is that the chieftains or the aristocrats of Mecca came to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and they said, hey, look, if you want us to listen to you, if you want us to listen to this thing called Islam, we will sit with you, but only on condition. Only on the condition that all these, poor and weak and slaves that are sitting with you on a constant basis, you need to kick them out. So the Prophet ﷺ, he does want to explain Islam to them. He does want to teach them about Islam, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed this verse, وَلَا تَطْرُدْ, don't expel them, don't kick them out. See, this was the life of the Prophet ﷺ, his circle. You wouldn't go to the circle of the Prophet ﷺ and find only rich people. No, you would find rich and you would find poor. You wouldn't go to the circle of the Prophet ﷺ and find noblemen and aristocrats only. You would find those people, but you would also find the weak of society. They all had a place in the circle around the Prophet ﷺ. So the question for you is this: do you have people from these different segments of society in your circle? You look at two people in the Quran. One of them is Sulaiman alayhi salam and one of them is Ayyub alayhi salam. Now it's really interesting. Sulaiman alayhi salam was a king of the earth. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed him with so many riches. And on the other hand, you have Ayyub alayhi salam, who's a prophet, whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tested him with so much, with a lack of wealth, and he was very ill, and many of his family members died and passed away. So now you have these two people. In both cases, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala called them ni'mal abd. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, what an amazing slave they were. So it doesn't matter if you're as rich as Sulaiman alayhi salam, or it may be that a person doesn't have that much wealth. You can both, or people in both situations, can be great servants of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So now let's go back to the circle of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He had the rich and the poor, the nobleman, the slave. They all found a place in the circle of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So if that's the circle of the Prophet ﷺ, let's look at the phenomenon of paying zakat, whether that's on Eid al-Fitr, Eid al-Adha, or any time during the year. If you tell people to pay their zakat, give their charity locally, and give it actually in the hand of the poor people, you'll very often hear people say, but I don't know any poor people. Now here's the problem. Why is it that you don't know any poor people? So my recommendation, my advice is this Eid, or whatever Eid is coming up, or any charity, go and find out who the poor people are in your community. Take your zakat or take your charity and give it to them in their hand. And I would even take it one step further, become their friends and invite them and make them part of your circle.